The number one reason why you would want to join Local 3 is because they get paid a lot of money. They're not the top paying local union, but they're somewhere in the middle, but they're like on the higher scale of the middle. So they're almost up there with like the trades, the operating engineers, structural iron workers, the steam fitters, the plumbers. They're up there with the other trades that make the big bucks. The number two reason why you want to join Local 3 is because the workload is amongst the easiest. They're like at the top. They're sitting right below the operating engineers. So operating engineers are the ones that take all the responsibility driving those big cranes and all of that stuff. So they're right below them, like literally right below them. Like some days they might go a little bit above them, but for the most days they sit right below. The third reason for me is actually the first reason, but I just mentioned the money situation because most people's interest is mainly sparked with how much money they get paid. But the third reason, which is actually my number one reason, is because they do something called a furlough, or for right now they got a mandatory vacation. So basically what they do is they divide their workload amongst all their members. So if they only have 200 members and they only have a project that's going to take 8,000 hours, they'll give every single member 1 week of work, 40 hours each or 8 hours a day, to complete those 8,000 hours worth of work. They're basically a socialist ideology union because they believe that everybody deserves the same amount of hours worth of work. That's one thing that I really like about Local 3, because even though there might still be discrimination within the union, at least the work hours are still spread evenly amongst their members. Now, I'm not in Local 3, but like anything else, I'd imagine that there are some favorites that they do favors for that get the best of the best or get more hours than other members when other members are getting less hours. I imagine that there's workarounds or people do shady stuff behind the scenes. I can't speak for it. I hope that it doesn't work like that. But what I really like about Local 3 is that everybody gets to work the same amount of hours. From the most part, from the surface, from what the other trades could see. If something else happens behind the scenes, then hey, I can't really speak on that. I can only speak on what I know, and what I know is that they operate in a very socialist way where they spread all the hours amongst all their members. So I love that about Local 3. So that's 3 reasons why you should join Local 3. Now, when it comes to the benefits, I'm not in Local 3, and I can't find that stuff online. You would have to be a member and log in to get that information. But if I do bump into a Local 3 member that gives me that information, I'll share that information with you guys. They also have pretty good scholarships for their wives or their kids to go to school for absolutely free, even though New York is moving in that direction. For anybody who makes less than $125,000 a year, you'll be able to enroll in a school for free, in a New York State school for free. Most trades make over $125,000 a year, so you're not going to fall into that category. So if you choose to be a carpenter, for example, you'll be making like $130,000 base salary a year, and your kids won't be able to go to school for free. But if you're in Local 3, your kids are going to school for free, and you're still making upwards of $125,000. So that's 4 reasons. Let me give you guys one more reason, because I got to make the title to say 5 reasons why you should join Local 3. Oh, and by the way, let me just add to the workload. Local 3's retirement age is actually 59 and a half, so it's actually 4.5 years after carpenter can retire. So I can retire at 55. My brother would have to wait till his 59 and a half. But the workload, there's a big disparity in the workload. So at 55, I'm going to be beat up. I'm going to be done. Shoulders, neck, knees, back, the whole entire 9. Him at 59 and a half, he might still be able to work another 3-4 more years. The workload makes a big difference. So the 5th reason why you guys should join Local 3 is they also send you to get an associate's degree. So you also, if you go through the apprenticeship, even though the apprenticeship is 5 years, you go to school part-time and you graduate from the apprenticeship with your associate's degree. So you also get the bragging rights of saying that you went to college. So that's my 5 reasons why you should join Local 3 instead of any other local. Now, I'm going to break down all the locals. I'm going to be doing the operating engineers, which nobody's getting into unless you know somebody that knows somebody that's in there. I'm also going to be doing the ornamental iron workers, which are basically carpenters but mainly deal with metal, and they also do a lot of welding. I'm going to be talking about the glaziers, which do all the windows in New York City, which also also work with a lot of carpenters on a lot of glass doors, and I'm also going to be talking about the laborers and the painters. So please feel free to ask me any questions you guys may have down in the comments below. You would think that painting is an easy job. Is actually, I would say, one of the most labor intense jobs there is. I think it's harder than sheetrocking. I think it's harder than welding. I think it's harder than being a dock builder. I think it's the hardest job physically there is to do. And some people might laugh at that and say, yeah, right, how could it be harder than hanging sheetrock when one piece of board weighs about 70 pounds and you got to hang 50 a day? So you got to lift 70 pounds every single day. But people don't understand that doing the same motion of painting over and over again, your shoulders, your back, everything goes. Like, everything goes. So painting is definitely not the union you want to be into. It's going to break you down. And then when you tell people that you're tired from painting, they're going to say, ha, you're tired from painting? How can you be tired from painting? That thing doesn't weigh anything. But they never done it before. You know, they'll hire somebody to paint. So hope you guys enjoyed this long video, this long rant that I went on. If you did, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos like this. And please help me make these videos more, because I do run dry on topics. So the more questions you have, not only do you get to have those questions answered by me, but you also get to help me make more videos. So you help me stay refreshed with the topics and all that. So my name's Ruben Lopez and I'm from New York, son. What's up, guys? And in today's video, we're mainly going to be talking about Local 3 members and their salary. So I'm going to discuss, maybe might hit on a few other topics, but for the most part, we're just going to talk about Local 3 and the amount of money that they make. So this is not something that you need to know, but usually when they negotiate a contract, you're usually looking at a 1.5% increase the first year, then a 2.5 the second, then possibly a 3.5% increase on the third year, and then back to like a 1.5, 2.5, whatever it may be. If you round up all the percentages and stuff like that from a 4-year contract, you're usually looking at a breakdown of about 2.5% every single year increase. So some years you might get 1.5, the next year you might get 3.5, the next year you might get 1.5 again, but throughout the course of the contract, the 4 years, you're looking at a 2.5% increase in salary. So I'm just gonna go off of that rule of thumb and go with 58.54. For 6 years they went up by $9. If they go up by another $9 an hour in 6 more years, whew, I mean, Local 3, they're making bank. I would also like to say that Local 3 is probably the union that I suggest people to join the most, and there's many reasons as to why I suggest Local 3. Mainly it's the workload. They definitely don't work their guys as much, and they also distribute their works amongst the members. So in Local 3, everybody gets to work the whole entire year. Right now they're doing a mandatory vacation of 1 month out of the year, so you could take 1 week here, 1 week there, 1 week there, or you could take the whole entire month off together. They used to call it a furlough back when there wasn't too much work, like in 2008 when we had the big recession with the whole house bubble market crash. Thank God that things have picked up from there. Back in 2008 when I got into the construction industry, people were doing really bad. I mean, electricians were out on furlough for 6 months. Furlough is basically a mandatory layoff, but doesn't really count as a layoff, but it's a mandatory layoff. Basically what they do is they distribute the work amongst the members. So if they only have 100 hours worth of work and they got 50 members, every single member is going to work 2 hours out of those 100 hours. Basically, I'm just doing basic math, but obviously work schedules are 8 hours a day. I just don't have the mental capacity to do all those hours. Everybody gets to work no matter what. So during 2008, they barely had work, and some of their members were at home for as long as 6 to 8 months because they just had no work, and everybody had to get their 2 to 3 months in that year. So it was a rough year for a lot of people, but while you're staying at home, you actually get to collect unemployment, so you're not at a total loss. And at that time they also had a separate fund for when they would lay off guys, but since things got so good, they actually got rid of that fund and they gave them like another 401k, some sort of pension program. So instead of the money going into that fund where you would get furloughs and things are so good, they got rid of that, and now your money goes into like another pension program, another Roth IRA or 401k, some sort of program like that. So you're not operating at a loss, you're still getting your money, but it's just going to a different account. That's mainly what I like about Local 3 members, though. It's not only are they somewhat on the highest paid, they're like in the mid, they're in the middle, but they're like on the high middle. They're like, you know, more on the high than the middle. And the carpenters, I would say, are on the middle, and then like the painters and laborers, they're like at the bottom of the pay scale, which is still not bad, because if you compare them to non-union workers, they're still making like $40 all the way up to $45 an hour, and it's still a pretty decent living if you ask me. And basically, since I'm not in the construction industry anymore, they're making way more money than I'm making. So a lot of people have been asking me also, what have I been up to since I'm not working construction. The truth is that I still do work construction on the weekends, or anytime they need me for a little bit of overtime. I'll come in for the whole day and I'll stay in for the overtime. And the reason why I'm not working full-time is because I am a full-time contractor now, and I am operating at a huge loss. There's just so much to business and tax, payroll, and the whole, there's just so much to having your own business. That's the reason why I made the video why entrepreneurship is actually overrated versus having your own business. Because when you're trying to operate at like a higher success rate than you were before, and it's hard to compete with union salaries. But basically, in order for me to get to the big money, I have to invest a lot of resources, time, and money. And I have to ask for a lot of favors also, which I'm currently doing now. So I am going through it. I haven't been losing money. I have been making money for the past 2 years. But if you count my salary in the Carpenters Union and then deduct it from the amount of money that I've been making, plus the amount of hours that I've been putting in, I'm actually operating at a loss, like a big loss. So I'm probably operating at about a $50,000 a year loss compared to the salary that I had before. Last year, I didn't scratch $100,000. I didn't make $100,000 worth of profit. A lot went into it. A lot of mistakes were done. And I also thought that I was living it up being a boss, and I didn't realize that I had to be more into the job than I am. So anyways, I'm going off on a bit of a rant with this. Let me not move away from the fact that Local 3 is the best local union to join, and having your own business is totally overrated. I'm basically hoping that within the next few years I can break even and I can walk away from this entrepreneurship BS that was fed to me through YouTube videos. You know, all those inspirational videos you watch on how you got to do something different, or how you got to do something, you got to be devoted to it, you got to be committed to it. I've watched all those videos. I drank the Kool-Aid. I invested all my money. I emptied out my whole entire 401k, and like I said, I'd spent about 11 and a half years in the Carpenters Union, and I emptied out my 401k of about $240,000 to get this construction business going. It's not as easy as get the job done, collect the money, pay off what you got to pay off. There's just so much troubles to it. So definitely joining a local union is way better than being your own boss, if you ask me. Now, to get to the big boy leagues where you start taking in union contracts and stuff like that, it's still a headache. It's still a mess. And the reason being is that you could always operate at a loss, and a general contractor, you being a subcontractor, because you don't have $1 billion of money to invest into being a contractor, the general contractors don't pay the subcontractors in a timely fashion. So you might not get paid. You might do a job where you had to handle payroll for, let's just say on a small scale, 12 guys for the whole entire year. So you're talking about $150,000 a piece just on the men, plus payroll taxes, which is going to be like another $100,000 for each of them. So you're talking about a $2 million project, and you won't get paid from a year from completion. Like a year after you go into, after you start calling them and you start losing your mind, that's when they'll pay you, and then they'll say, hey, listen, next time we're not going to use you. If you don't have the capacity to operate, we're not going to use you. Meanwhile, you have the capacity to operate, you just don't have the funds to finish that job and then jump on to the next one and continue to see growth within your payroll. So it's a very complicated business to get into, and there's a ton of politics involved, and people don't really talk about the politics involved in owning your own construction business, but there's just so much to it that you don't see behind the scenes. So joining a local union is definitely the way to go. Anyways, this video has been a complete total random rant of just me talking about this. It was supposed to be on Local 3 and their benefits and everything that they got, and I just went on a complete rant. So hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos like this, and I'll see you guys on the next one. If you guys have any questions whatsoever as far as the construction industry, I know enough on all the trades. I mean, I've done plumbing a little bit, not that I'm a professional at it, but I basically know the basics within a house: plumbing, electrical, carpentry, laborers, welding. I'm also a welder. If you guys didn't know, I know how to weld. I did about 1.5 years with the Dock Builders Union, so I know enough to defend myself with all the trades, but I'm not a professional in any of them except for carpentry. I've been doing carpentry for so many years that pretty much know it like the back of my hand. Now, let me stop. I'm not that cocky, and I don't know everything, and there's plenty of guys that constantly teach me things, or ladies. I had a woman foreman once, and she was very, very knowledgeable in the trades, and she also had bigger arms than me, so she could definitely hold her own when it came to the heavy lifting and all that stuff. Unfortunately, this was one of my most boring videos in day in the life of a New York City construction worker, so if you are watching me for the first time, just know that this video right here, this shit is boring. Basically a rant, just trying to talk about Local 3 a little bit, why they're the best local union to join.